The golden rule to climbing the fastest in League of Legends is to limit your champion pool. So in today's video, we've got you guys set up with the best champions to one trick for patch 13.8. The two main pieces of criteria we followed to create the list were that each champ needed below a 10% ban rate, along with being a strong pick in meta. You're not going to see champs like Malphite or Jarvan recommended in this video because even though they are super strong, they're very unreliable to one trick with their high ban rates. But before we get into it, be sure to check out SkillCapped if you want to truly get better at League of Legends. We're the only service that offers a money-back guarantee if you don't climb at least 5 divisions while actively using our service. We do this because our service really does work, and if it doesn't work for you, you shouldn't pay. Learn more at the end of this video or click the link in the description below. Arguably one of the biggest winners of 13.8 and a top laner who's super reliable to one trick is Poppy. Ban rate is at a remarkably low rate of only 3%, but who knows how long that will last for. Poppy saw 2 buffs this patch, one to the percent health damage on Q and one to the resists on W. Poppy is such an incredible top laner for solo queue because she has the perfect mix of offensive and defensive power to play off of. You start off the game building Poppy like a bruiser champion by rushing Divine Sunderer. This allows you to thrive in the 1v1 and snowball early game advantages. As you reach the mid game, transitioning into tank works amazing as you become a really great frontline for your team in fights. Are you tired of losing to these high mobility meta top laners like Jace, Jax, Fiora, Riven, and Camille? Poppy is currently winning over 53% of the time against every single one of those champs. If you can get the timing of your W down and learn the little mind games with how you can use it in certain matchups, Poppy becomes an unplayable matchup for many top lane champs. The complete build for Poppy is a Divine Sunderer rush into Sunfire Aegis 2nd and Force of Nature 3rd. Grasp is the keystone rune with Shield Bash, Bone Plating, and Revitalize. Biscuits and Time Warp Tonic are for secondaries. With Malphite being nerfed this patch, a tank who's extremely worth it to spend the time on is Ornn. Ban rate is pretty much non-existent as it's sitting below 1% right now. For a CC engaged champ, Ornn is not the easiest to execute, at least when compared to a meta top like Malphite, which makes him great to one trick. There are unique combos you gotta get used to, but once you got them down, Ornn can almost play like a tank assassin with how much damage his full combo can do. For 13.8, Ornn is absolutely stomping meta top laners. Most notably, he's winning over 56% of the time against Jace and Darius. Ornn also plays very well into Malphite and Sion, who are 2 of the highly contested top laners. The build for Ornn consists of a Sunfire Aegis rush into Jak'Sho 2nd and Thornmail 3rd. You want to grab Grasp in runes with Demolish, Second Wind, and Overgrowth. Magical Footwear and Biscuits are the best secondaries. Poppy and Ornn are both more durable champions, but if you want that pure fighter with strong early game snowball power, Pantheon is the pickup. Pantheon's ban rate is right around 5%, so he's a very accessible champion. Mechanically, Pantheon is not very difficult at all, while his early game laning power is insane, so it won't take you long at all to begin stomping lanes. Winning lane is one of the most important parts of carrying games consistently, so if you put the time into Pantheon, learn your matchups, and come out on top more often than not, your rank is going to drastically increase. If you focus on poking the enemy with Q when they go for last hits and trading around your E cooldown, there's very little most champs can do to beat Pantheon. A few meta tanks like Sion and Malphite can nullify some of Panth's laning power, so using your ban on one of them is what we would recommend. The build to run is an Eclipse Rush into Black Cleaver 2nd and Spear of Shojin 3rd. You want Conqueror for the keystone with Presence of Mind, Tenacity, and Last Stand, followed by Conditioning and Overgrowth. With the way things are trending, we don't expect this champion to be one-trickable for very long, as Kha'Zix is dominating the jungle meta in 13.8. Kha'Zix's ban rate is currently around 8%, so below that 10% cutoff, but as more people start realizing how strong the champion is after his buffs, we wouldn't be surprised if he's above 10% by next patch. One-tricking Ka for the time being is a really great option, as his raw carry power is hard to beat with the Q buffs. When you're first picking up Ka, one of the more confusing things about him is not necessarily how to play him mechanically, it's what to prioritize as your mythic item. Eclipse, Duskblade, and Prowlers are all viable on the champion with near identical win rates. Eclipse is definitely most optimal in games where the enemy comp is more fighter or tank champs, where you need that armor pen and shield to go toe-to-toe. Prowlers and Duskblade are the more snowball-y pickups. Against champs who have high mobility themselves, going Prowlers over Duskblade is a good idea. Rune Page for Kha'Zix is first strike, with Free Boots, Futures Market, and Cosmic Insight. Sudden Impact and Treasure Hunter are the secondaries. The perfect jungler to one trick for 13.8, coming off some really nice early game buffs, is Nidalee. Ban rate for Nidalee is climbing, but for Diamond and below, it's under 9%. If there's one champion in the game that should only be played by one tricks, it's Nidalee. Nidalee is the definition of a feast or famine champion, as she offers nothing but damage, so when behind, she's completely worthless, but when ahead, her invade power and one-shot potential is second to none. Don't expect to start winning with Nidalee right away. If you want a champ you can spam this patch and see results with right away, then side with Kha'Zix. Nid's in a great spot now that if you do decide to start one-tricking her, the results will come, but it's going to take more dedication. Build to run for Nidalee is a Night Harvest Harvester Rush into Shadow Flame 2nd and Zanya's 3rd. Grab Dark Harvest for the Keystone Rune with Sudden Impact, Eyeball Collection, and Treasure Hunter. Optimal secondaries are Transcendence and Water Walking. A champion who has a ton of solo carry power when mastered, and our third one-trick jungle selection is Bel'Veth. Ban rate for Bel'Veth is only 5%, so well below the 10% cutoff. When it comes down to a strong skirmishing jungler, few are more impactful than Bel'Veth. The mobility from Q combined with the damage reduction from E allows for absolutely insane outplay potential. To learn more about Bel'Veth, our Challenger Jungler Skill Shot is a Bel'Veth main with a bunch of full game commentaries for you guys on our website. Something more and more Bel'Veth players have been doing recently to increase their skirmish power is running Ghost instead of Flash. With Ghost, you're even more shifty and can weave in and out of fights extremely well. Ghost currently has a 2% better win rate than Flash, so definitely try it out. Standard 3-item core for Bel'Veth is a Kraken Slayer Rush into Blade of the Ruined King 2nd and Death's Dance 3rd. Conqueror is the best Keystone Rune with Triumph, Alacrity, and Last Stand. Roll with Freeboots and Biscuits for secondaries. There are few mid lane champions who offer more pure carry power than Cassiopeia once mastered, which makes her amazing to one-trick. Ban rate is very low at the moment, sitting at around 4%. Patch 13.8 is even giving Cassio an indirect boost, with Cosmic Drive being a really great third pickup now. Due to Cassio's shorter range, your positioning and ability to anticipate plays is very important. This, combined with the fact Cassio is extremely reliant on landing a skill shot to deal max DPS, makes her a more difficult champ to learn, but well worth it once practiced. Cass has some of the best counter engage in the game with her W and ultimate, and hard counters dive champions, which makes her so powerful for solo queue. Two core items for Cassio are Rod of Ages and Archangels, but from then on out, it's really up to preference and the situation. Cosmic Drive, Stoneplate, and Rylai's are all viable third pickups for Cass. In regards to runes, grab Conqueror with Presence of Mind, Tenacity, and Last Stand. Mana Flow and Transcendence are the way to go for secondaries. The best AD mid laner that you can one-trick for solo queue in 13.8 is Uxin. You'll be able to pick Uxin in the majority of games with his ban rate at around 6%. When played to his limits, Uxin has incredible carry power, as his laning strength is amazing and roaming potential is top tier. There is such a large gap between an average and mastered Uxin player, as understanding how to use his E optimally is not simple to learn. It's just something that takes a lot of practice and spamming a ton of games to get used to, but once you got it mastered, you can make the champ look like the most broken pick in the entire game. The build for Uxin is a Kraken Slayer Rush into Blade of the Ruined King 2nd and Wit's End 3rd. Press the attack is the Keystone Rune with Presence of Mind, Alacrity, and Coup de Grace. Run Shield Bash and Bone Plating for secondaries. If you want quick and easy elo from mid lane right now, especially if you're in the lower ranks, start spamming Annie. Unlike Uxin and Cassio, Annie doesn't require a ton of games to see results, so if you don't have a lot of time to spare, running with Annie is a great idea. Average ban rate is currently just 6%, and surprisingly, it's actually even less than that in low elo. There's really no better time to be playing Annie, as she's insanely good in meta and is not prioritized as much as she should be relative to her power level. Consistency is key when it comes to climbing, and with a champion like Annie, who has a very linear playstyle, you're able to execute fights so much better. The Stun Tibbers combo on a priority target is what your ideal play looks like in mid to late game fights, and it's very simple to focus on. Core build for Annie is a Luden's Rush into Shadow Flame 2nd and Rabadon's 3rd. Rune Page is Electrocute with Cheap Shot, Eyeball Collection, and Relentless Hunter, followed by Mana Flow and Absolute Focus for secondaries. Making his way back onto the scene for 13.8 and one of the best ADCs to one trick is Ezreal. Ban rate has been doubled for 13.8, going from 2.5 to 5%, but that's still a very low rate. It's night and day the difference between an average Ezreal and an Ezreal one trick. Hitting consistent Qs, weaving autos effectively, using E at the correct times. There's just so much that goes into playing a great Ezreal, which means you've got to put a ton of games in. The weaving autos effectively is one of the more difficult parts to grasp about Ezreal, because you always feel nice and safe just sitting back at max range throwing out Qs, but there are many situations where being in auto range is vital to your success. Damage is your only way you can contribute to fights with Ezreal, so if you aren't mechanically sound, then he can look like one of the weakest champs in the game. Build for Ezreal is a Trinity Force Rush into Manamune 2nd and Cyrilda's Grudge 3rd. Press the attack is the Keystone Rune with Presence of Mind, Bloodline, and Coup de Grace. Best secondaries are Magical Footwear and Biscuits. Another ADC who was just buffed for 13.8 and in an amazing spot to one trick is Kog'Maw. You never have to worry about not being able to play Kog, as he's banned in just 1% of games. Doing your best to play around Ghost cooldown, using the movement speed along with added range from W, gives Kog super strong skirmish power. Playing Kog with Ghost feels so nice in fights, as you have much better kiting potential and can actually fend off dive champions by yourself. The most difficult part about Kog'Maw is the fact fact that he lacks any sort of mobility, so positioning and spacing well in fights is key. For the duration of W active, Kog has some of the most insane DPS power for any ADC, especially when playing into tankier comps. The core build of Blade of the Ruined King and Rage Blade is where you can really come online and begin piercing the enemy's health bars. Lethal Tempo is the best Keystone rune with Triumph, Alacrity, and Last Stand. Conditioning and Overgrowth are optimal secondaries. If you want to play an ADC who provides a little more than just damage, Varus is in a perfect state to one-trick. Ban rate is under 2%, so an extremely accessible champion. When choosing to one-trick a champion, it's ideal that they can adapt well to all sorts of circumstances, and Varus can do exactly that. With Varus, you never have to worry about what the enemy team comp looks like, because he's one of the few ADCs who can significantly alter his build. Are you playing against a super tanky comp? AP Varus with Hail of Blades for the Keystone rune is absolutely amazing at shredding tanks. Are you against a full squishy enemy comp? Going Lethality Varus and running Comet for the Keystone is viable. Is there a mix of bruisers and squishy champs? Crit Varus with a more auto-attack focused playstyle running Lethal Tempo can do the trick. Learning how to play with each of these builds, or just finding one that suits you the best, is going to take a bit of time, but if you can master all three of them, your carry power will be massive. For how powerful this champion is in the current meta, Rakan is still a really great option to one-trick. Ban rate is just 6%, but it definitely should be much higher than that. To be fair, in Challenger, Rakan is banned in 17% of games, but for the majority of ranks, he's well below 10%. A mastered Rakan player can make engaged plays look so effortless, and can solo win games on so many occasions. Knowing when you've got that opening and being able to capitalize on it makes Rakan one of the best supports in the game. Managing that aggression is definitely something you'll have to work at when first picking up the champion though, as it's very important to understand your teammates' limits. Depending on who your team is playing, it's going to change game to game with how aggro you can be looking for those picks. Something simple you can do in loading screen is just think about how team fights will play out with the champs you have to work with, and then adjust how you posture based on that. The core build for Rakan is a Shurelius Rush into Zeke 2nd and Wardstone 3rd. Guardian is the Keystone rune with Font of Life, Bone Plating, and Unflinching, followed by Zombie Ward and Ultimate Hunter for secondaries. So many of the meta supports have very high ban rates right now, but one who does not and is so much better in the hands of a one-trick is Senna. Senna is extremely strong in the current meta, but only has a 4% ban rate. Being a champion who scales super well and is a legitimate damage source, putting the time into learning Senna is very rewarding. Few supports have the same kind of raw carry power that Senna does. However, she is more mechanically demanding than the majority of supports, which gives her a higher learning curve. If you're a support main looking to pick up Senna for the first time and have never played ADC before, it's not going to be pretty at first, but if you stick it out, it'll be worth it. Build for Senna is an Umbral Glaive Rush into Eclipse 2nd and Rapid Fire Cannon 3rd. Grab Fleet Footwork with Presence of Mind, Alacrity, and Cutdown for primary runes. Optimal secondary page is Bone Plating and Revitalize. Making a push back in a meta for 13.8, and the best enchanter support to one trick is Janna. Melio is a really strong enchanter as well, but his ban rate is over 15%, while Janna is only being banned in 0.8% of games. Janna pairs super well with the three most played ADCs, being Jinx, Ezreal, and Kai'Sa, as the protection she provides for them gives you amazing scaling insurance. The peel power coming out of Janna's kit allows her to shut down melee dive champions super hard and completely nullify their effectiveness in teamfights. With Rakan being very strong in meta, Leona buffed this patch, and seeing more play, it gives Janna great value as she hard counters their engage. You don't really carry on Janna by facilitating plays yourself. You carry by limiting the effectiveness of what enemy champs are capable of. Build to run on Janna is a Shurelia's or Moonstone Rush into Ardent Sensor 2nd and Redemption 3rd. For runes, run Glacial Augment with Freeboots, Biscuits, and Cosmic Insight, followed by Font of Life and Revitalize for secondaries. Alright guys, before we wrap this up, let's tell you a little more about SkillCapped. So, we offer a 5-division rank up guarantee, and think that's a pretty crazy thing to offer. It's like a gym membership guaranteeing you'll get ripped. Your local gym would go bust if they offered that, right? Not us. We've offered this for years because our service really does work. It works so well, in fact, that we're able to produce by far the largest catalog of premium league guides on the internet. We add over 20 videos a week, with over 1,600 guides curated into over 100 courses no one can compare. We've also sent Challenger players into ELO Hell 714 times and counting, where they commentate how to carry live. They also respond to all questions asked. Sign up today for as little as $6.99 a month if you are serious about improving. So there you have it guys, the best champions to one trick for every single role in patch 13.8. Thanks for watching, good luck with your ranked climbs, and we'll see you in the next one.